This is the fourth in a series of tutorial videos on the Canard Question Module Editor and the structured questionnaire building language. In the last video we looked at how to create sequence guides to control logical flow within a survey. And in this video we're going to look at how to use a similar type of decision table to create dynamic text based on prior responses. In Squabble these are termed word substitutions or simply word subs. To do this we're going to explore a simple 3-question survey about geese. What is your goose's name? What is the sex of your goose, and what is his or her age? Now, as you can tell, this is a very impersonal form, and occasionally you're going to want to personalize forms based on prior respondent input, which is where word substitutions come in handy. In the simplest case, we may not want to just include a prior response to personalize a question. So, for example, when we enter the goose's name, we might want that to show up in later questions. And we'll do this for the sex question, and we'll replace your goose, and we're going to insert the name of the goose here. And that's as easy as just dragging the question into the question text of a following question. So what we can see here is as we refresh the form, your goose has disappeared, and as we enter a name, it asks what is the sex of Sam, for example. So this is quite a simple one, but unfortunately it's not always appropriate. Sometimes prior responses need to inform what a change in the dynamic text will be, but we can't use a direct replacement. And this is where word substitutions come in very handy. What we can do instead is we can create a new object. So we'll call this a word substitution object. And the reason that we're going to create this is in the sex question, the response is based on a code list. So it's male or female, and it has the code M or F. And neither of these are really appropriate for us to insert into question 3, where we ask what is his or her age. So instead what we're going to do is we're going to create a new word substitution that's based on generating the pronoun of the sex. And the default for this will just be his or her. And that's shown when we don't know what the sex of the goose will be. But what we can do is we can drag the sex question in. We can add a new condition. So if the sex is male, then we'll output his. And if the sex is female, we can output her. And we can go back to the age question now, and we can drag this pronoun directly in. So we'll remove the original text there and refresh the form. So here we can see it's bolded because it's saying it's a substitution. And as we go through, we can enter the name Sam, and if we enter female, it will say what is her age, but I'm actually male, so we'll click male and it'll go what is his age. This is all well and good, but it's still again based only on one question. What we can do is we can actually extend this further. So in the last section here, there's a statement that says thanks for telling us about your goose. So we can do the same here. We'll add a comma and we'll say thanks for telling us about your goose with a name. But not all goose are created equal. Depending on how old it is, it can be a goose or a gander, or it could just still be a gosling. And we want to insert that information. So what we can do is we can create a new word substitution, and we'll call that goose type. And the default for this will just be goose, the name of all geese. And we'll drag in the sex and the age. Now we'll add a new condition here, and if the age is less than 1, we'll call it less than or equal to 1, I should say. We'll call it a gosling. I'm not a biologist, but we'll say that's the cutoff. And we can add another condition, and if it's male, and this time if it's over 1, then it's a gander. And lastly, if it's female, and it's over 1, then it's still a goose. The female term for gooses. And we can now go to the thanks statement. And instead of having your goose, we can say delete that text, and we can drag the goose type in. And as we drag that in, we can refresh the page again, and we can add in Sam. And we can see here the default's already going to gosling because it's the first one in the list. We forgot to add a default. And we go, what is the sex of Sam? And it's male, and Sam is, say, a 3-year-old goose. So it says, thanks for telling us about your gander Sam. Now, this is quite a simple instance of these word substitutions. In practice, they'd probably be used for employment statuses. So if you've got 3 or 4 different questions around employment status, they might generate that. Alternatively, it could be more around social status. Basically, you can kind of use these word substitutions to insert a piece of generic or a piece of dynamic text where a generic text might not be appropriate, and you can personalize the form a little bit better. Hope that helps. Thank you very much. Bye.